Hey, we're live. How's it all going, mate?
Yes, good mate. I was just saying to you before we started recording, it's feeling pretty warm in the UK. It's not particularly sunny, but it's muggy. So I'm just sat in my shorts and t-shirt trying to cope. You doing good?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just glad you're not sat in your pants.
No, I'm. Well, you'd never know. I might be, but I can promise you I'm not.
Brilliant. So, hi guys, welcome to the show. We're gonna dive into the latest stories today. As usual, we've got a few stories to cover, and we're going to do try and be strict with the time, covering each story 5 minutes max. We'll put it on the timer, and we'll keep this show moving along rapidly. It's a daily show if you're new to it, and we just try and keep up to date with what's happening in the space. We're working in the space of AI. Yeah, it's a good way for us to keep on top of what's the latest news, what's happening, and to share it with you guys and to give you our take. And often these takes are really just literally, we've discussed these very, very briefly, and we're sort of, in real time reacting to the stories. Yeah, let's just dive straight into it, Will. What's the first one we've got?
This one immediately caught my eye. It's very interesting for lots of reasons. And you may have heard of it, but a company called Perplexity, which is an AI company, they have made an offer to Google to buy their Chrome browser, which, again, if you didn't know, is the most popular browser in the world by quite a margin. You probably use Chrome even if you don't know it. If you use another browser, it's powered by Chrome underneath, or Chromium, which is sort of the open source software underneath. And Perplexity is a small AI company. I say small, it's worth about $10 billion or so. Don't quote me on the exact valuation. But they've made this crazy offer to buy Chrome because they're also building their own browser called Comet, which is an AI-powered browser. You're going to have LLMs in the browser. You can chat with your tabs. It's sort of, I don't buy into the whole AI browser massively. But, there's a few companies trying, like, making their own versions of it. And the reason this is crazy is because it has a little bit more depth to it, is the fact that currently Google is in US courts defending themselves against a lot of antitrust accusations. Chrome being one of them. There's a US judge at the moment that it could possibly force Google to sell Chrome because of antitrust market share. And this is obviously a perfectly timed, it's definitely not coincidental offer to purchase Chrome. If it went through, if it did happen, it would be an absolutely crazy switch of power to a company that is relatively unknown compared to the size of Google, and giving them a browser that has majority market share. I mean, it would really win the race for AI browsers if that was a race that you think exists.
And I'm not sure if you touched on it, but the offer is significantly more than the valuation of Perplexity. Isn't that right?
About 3 times. Again, don't quote me. About 3 times the size. So they obviously don't have that money in the bank, or I expect they don't, because one's a crazy amount of money. I mean, it's more money than most people or companies will ever be worth, and yeah, it's about 3 times the amount that the company Perplexity is valued at.
So what's the take on them wanting to grab this browser AI space? How do they sort of see the future? How is that going to play out for? I guess this is consumer focused solutions, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so it's imagine you use Brave. I use a browser called Arc. Arc is created by a company that are also creating an AI browser called Dia, which is very early days. And basically the vision behind Comet, Dia, these AI browsers is that instead of like going onto ChatGPT and talking to it, or Google Gemini, it's built into the browser level. So it's one step back. It's built into the software. You can load up instead of creating a new tab, in that tab will be a chatbot. You can bring in your tabs, you can bring in your documents, you can take it to browse to sites, and it's basically just more deeply integrated into the software that you use and the workflows that you use. I mean, I've given it some goes. I'm not sure that I buy into it wholly as a useful thing. I feel like, as is the case with a lot of technology, it's a hot thing, and therefore let's shove it into everything. So I don't know how the value will play out. I mean, it's not particularly useful for my workflow, but maybe it would be for others. I mean, there's a bunch of companies doing it, so obviously there's someone who thinks there's value somewhere.
Interesting. All right, well, we are ahead of schedule. I think that's enough. Let's move on. That took us about 4 minutes.
Getting quicker at summarizing.
We are. So let's move on to the next story. So what should we do next? Should we do the Sam Altman one again?
Let's do it. I love a bit of Sam Altman. It's got a bit of a depth to this story as well. I mean, it's interesting, and it's got some depth and some petty gossip in the nerdy tech world. So this story is angled around Sam Altman, obviously the CEO of OpenAI, and he's now reportedly going after to try and invest and back a startup that does like brain to computer interfaces. I mean, the furthest forward one in the world, and the one you might have heard of, is Elon Musk's Neuralink. They have working technology. They're rolling it out to patients, in small scale. So it's amazing how far this technology has come, like having a computer strapped into your brain. Now Elon Musk is trying to get into the same world. The reason this is obviously interesting, the whole brain to computer interface kind of thing, chips, that we can control with our minds, all that kind of crazy stuff. That's interesting. But in more of a petty gossip world, it's a little bit funny, because you'll know that Elon Musk and Sam Altman have been having a bit of a long-term spat that's just fired back up again on places like X. And it's obviously come up. This news has just come out literally off the back of them arguing on X again about who's doing what. It's quite funny.
And the who's doing what part is Musk's complaining about Grok not being discoverable as much as OpenAI on the App Store with Apple.
Yeah. Elon Musk literally came out with a wild accusation that Apple and OpenAI are colluding to have ChatGPT, the app, number one on the App Store. Yeah,
and then Altman hits back with, well, you're using X as a platform to pump your stock and all the rest of it, and promote all your products and services and all the rest of it. So
they've basically been going back and forth on this. Yeah,
definitely. And for those who don't know, the backstory was Elon Musk and Altman were working closely together with OpenAI when it was a foundation and it was not supposed to be for profit.
No, yeah, exactly. They were friends, and to be honest with you, mostly I side with Sam Altman on this one. Obviously, none of us were ever in the room will know the full details of what happened, but Elon Musk ended up leaving OpenAI and has since seemed to have more of a vendetta against OpenAI and Sam Altman than the other way around. So it's quite funny, really.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a backstory behind this, isn't there? Basically.
Yeah, but now it's quite funny as well to see Sam Altman taking shots back, basically, and I think doing it in a relatively stylish way. I think it's quite funny. Again, about 12 months ago, Elon Musk offered to buy OpenAI, which was again quite funny, as after suing them a lot, and then Sam Altman fired back with wanting to buy X, and onwards the merry-go-round goes. If you don't have the sense of humor for it, the other perspective is that it's billionaires arguing over billionaire things, which, considering the state of the world, annoys some people as well. But sure. Me personally, I don't think it's that deep.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit power games, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bit flexing. Right, I think that's enough. We've managed to do that under 5 minutes as well. Right, that's perfect. We're actually flying through it.
You were good at this.
We're getting better. So, okay, we've hit that one. What's the next story? So, what about new AGI Insight? What this means for LLMs?
I think this is quite a long article. It's quite long. In fact, the author of this article labels it an essay.
Yeah,
it is quite long. However, it's a reality check on where we are with technology, and also how we're doing in this grand scheme of AGI, which is what companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, they're all working towards these general intelligences, and this is a reality check in actually sort of how far off we are with it, and also what LLMs are. That's what we have now. We have LLMs, large language models, and there is a massive discrepancy, especially if people that aren't particularly in technology, that they don't understand what this technology is and how it works, and where it's actually going and what it's possible with. We spoke yesterday a little bit about how GPT-5 came out and how it's relatively underwhelming for people, and I spoke about the fact that this will probably be the case. I mean, for the general user, not much will have changed in terms of how good it is at writing tasks and doing general things that you would do day to day. It's only really in the upper echelons of the benchmarks that this technology is getting better. And now people complaining about GPT-5 is not on its ability, it's more on its personality, which again shows something about where this technology is going. We're hitting a roadblock, if that makes sense, where this architecture behind modern day AI, so these LLMs, this LLM architecture, there's a roadblock here that we have to get through in order to reach this sort of land of artificial general intelligence, if that makes sense.
Definitely. It sort of feels to me a bit like the dot-com bubble when in 2000, was it 99, 2000, 2001, around that time, anything with a website or a .com with its name was just on fire, and a lot of investment getting thrown into it. It was a real buzz about .com and the internet and all the rest of it. But then obviously it took a nosedive. And it's sort of, you look back, you go, wow, really before, there was another 10 years before sort of real, I mean, people obviously were using computers, but it was 10, 15 years before, we started to see the maturity of it, if that makes sense. What do we have? Facebook. When did Facebook come? 2007, 2008?
Well, it actually came out in 2004.
2004.
Obviously, it didn't hit mainstream like you and I would be.
No, but that's what I mean.
We wouldn't be using like 2006, maybe.
So, when you think about, the technology and the way we started using the internet, it was sort of, it took a while really for it to embed itself in the mainstream, and for the products to get built and the ideas to emerge. So it's going to be interesting, and I wonder if it's going to be a similar sort of path that we'll see, or maybe it won't be. Maybe it won't be 10, 15 years before we see that real adoption by, it's just embedded in everything that we do. Maybe it'll be faster because AI is able to accelerate it even more. It's interesting.
There are many similarities to the dot-com bubble with the AI bubble now. I mean, that's something to take note of. And again, there is also this angle, where we're hitting, people are making posts about AI layoffs and losing their jobs, and we're having only a few days ago, we had a fairly deep conversation on this show talking about the morals and the ethics of AI. I think it's nice to see some articles like this, because often you get lost in this sci-fi fantasy of where it's heading, but we're really far off it. Again, lots of companies, as you said, will die off because everyone's putting AI into everything, and that's something to be wary of. But this haven of artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence is definitely coming, and it will. However, there are a lot of roadblocks to overcome, and the technology that you're using today will likely not look like what AGI will end up being. At least the architecture underneath, the large language model architecture, is likely going to change to achieve AGI. So it's an interesting little reality check in terms of where the technology is.
It is, and I think it's not just a technology time scale delay for things to get built and to evolve, if that makes sense. I think it's also a cultural, social delay for people to get used to using these things. So the technology might be built for XYZ task, but for that adoption to it's going to take for the adoption it's going to take time to grow and people start feel comfortable with. And we've seen that when we talk about our own Ava Mind product, the AI therapeutic assistant. For some people, the initial reaction is, that's cool, but oh my, it's a bit weird talking to something. I feel I'm not used to it. I think there's that multifaceted sort of delays in terms of it being fully integrated into our world, into our society. So again, going back to that point, is it could be 10, 15 years before, 20 years before we really see it just being like we use our iPhones now, like we use the internet now. Everything's digitalized. I just wonder whether it's going to take a while for both the technology to build out fully and to be integrated into the way we construct our social and economic lives. I don't know. We'll see. It's a, like you said, it's very easy to think, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen tomorrow. But we'll see.
This leads perfectly into the next article, actually, funnily enough, which I will bring up, because this is an exact example of what you are saying in terms of societal and cultural shifts, and actually how AI is forcing society backwards in some ways, in some perspectives. And so this is a report. We'll just jump into the next article because it feeds directly on from that one previously. So this is a report from the Wall Street Journal, and it's talking about how there's a growing trend of how AI is forcing the return of in-person job interviews, which is again a direct result of this becoming more mainstream for people, and how it's probably not quite clicking into today's societies and cultural norms. So the little bit, the backstory behind this, you've probably seen it, I've seen it, is there's adverts for apps, and there's like funny videos of people that take job interviews digitally, like you and I are talking. However, through the output of their speaker, they're having the interviewer's questions feeding into an LLM, and the LLM in real time is giving back the answer. It's got at least system prompting, if not design, like post-training specifically for like job interview answers. But essentially, whatever the artificial intelligence puts out, you read back to the interviewer, and you're seeing funny videos of this happening. And the interviewer will suspect something's up, and they'll go share your screen, and they're quickly minimizing it and then going sharing their screen, or they're doing it on their phone, so you actually can't share that screen. It's not on the desktop. And again, I think this perfectly demonstrates exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's a technology that is more rapid than the .com bubble, and it is integrating fast, and it is improving fast. But how it's not quite clicking into society is an interesting thing, and it's forcing us backwards, forcing us to return to the office, forcing us to return to not being able to be remote, and everything like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. There's nothing quite like meeting people in person and seeing the whites of their eyes, shaking their hands, and getting that vibe. But even then, and I've said it before, the interview process is literally a snapshot in time, in a moment, and you're meeting that person in with them trying to give the best impression they possibly can. And it's almost I almost question the value of interviews to a certain extent. I mean, this is still obviously important to meet people, talk to them, and all the rest of it, get a feeling. But equally, I think there's a lot to be said about these sort of like psychometric tests that you can do, which can be really interesting to see if they if somebody fits in with that type of culture or organization or the profile of the team members that you've already got. So I think those types of things are really, really invaluable. Years ago, I had a guy. There was a guy who did this sort of stuff, and he was a friend of my dad. Basically, he just said, "Oh, I'll do this for you, just to show you what I do." And just a little test, and it will sort of summarize your sort of personality. It was quite weird. It just you follow through a little tick box exercise, asking questions. And he would analyze this information, it sort of come out and say, "This is XYZ. This is your person." It was absolutely mind blowing and fascinating. But I saw it straight away how incredibly powerful it would be if you were trying to find candidates.
Yeah,
because you would never get that insight. You'd never get that perspective.
And ultimately, I think societies will have to shift. Another example is, actually what this does for people's skill levels. Training for interviews and practicing for interviews and preparing has been a cultural norm, for as long as we can remember in the modern world. And now we're hitting this, and this is not just the interview process, but doing the job. People are relying more and more on AI to give them the answers. It's stunting people's ability to learn, and making like aspects of their cognitive ability go down. Again, it's so early days that we don't have any long-term study on it, but I mean, this is completely anecdotally and anecdotal and brought up by just people's stories. But I can see it, and you can see it, as you use these AI tools more, there is a reliance on it. And I'm not saying that it's not a very powerful thing to have these tools at our disposal, and they will continue to be. But again, it's another, how does that fit into society long term? Same thing.
Interesting. Maybe our skills become less important, but our hard skills of whatever the tasks are, maybe they become less important because a machine can effectively do it. But maybe those softer skills are the way we communicate, the way we sort of interact with our colleagues, maybe the way we problem solve, or maybe those softer skills become more relevant.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah. I mean, maybe there is an answer to this, and you can't stop it, and it will happen, and societies will adjust. But it's just very interesting to see how AI is grating into current society and how it's not quite fitting. That's what's quite interesting.
That was 5 minutes, mate. That was the longest one we chatted about. So we actually hit the timer on that one. The other ones we flew through.
Amazing.
Was that it, Will? Was that the last story?
That was the last story. We did really well there.
Fantastic. So, do you want anything else to add?
I don't think so. I think we covered off sort of the main highlights. This is what's quite fun, is that every day we can bring something new to the table. We've spoken this week about what we're doing sort of in-house with Ava, and that work continues. It's really exciting. All these news stories inform how we go about building our business, especially when you think of things like the dot-com bubble and how AI is being put into everything, and maybe in a few years that bubble will burst, and then mirroring the dot-com bubble. So how do you ride out the waves of these technology trends to make sure that you're building technology that lasts? It's when you're in tune with the news and what's happening in this world, which is happening fast, it really makes you think and try how you weatherproof and future-proof your business doing the same thing. Because a lot of these things ring true.
No, 100% agree. All right, gang. Well, let's wrap it up. We'll jump back on here tomorrow, guys, and hope you join us. And of course, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe. We really appreciate it. Obviously, a new show, and all the support we get is much appreciated. Brilliant. All right, guys, take care.
Catch you a bit.